Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Jazz Talk, my favorite segment of the show, where I interview local jazz musicians. This week, we have Korbin Cole. Korbin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Korbin. Well, first off, tell the audience a little bit about yourself, what you do here at WT, and what you play and stuff like that.
All right. Well, my name is Korbin Cole. I am a junior vocal ed student here at WT. Originally came in as dual emphasis trombone and voice. Decided to go to the vocal route, but I still keep up with the band world pretty well. Just some things about me. I work at United Supermarkets part-time as a bookkeeper. I love getting to hang out with all my friends, especially these two goobers, and I'm super honored to be here today.
Awesome. Well, the first question I had for you is, of course, you do play a lot of instruments. Can you talk about what's all you can play?
Yeah, so, okay, the list is kind of long.
Okay.
So I started with guitar when I was in 5th grade. And I also, I got a keyboard when I was in 5th grade too. I have been playing guitar ever since. I kind of dropped off on keyboard. I picked up drum set a little bit, but, just kind of fiddling around. And then I got into band, and throughout all of my band career, I played trombone. I played tuba for solo and ensemble purposes. And then actually my last year of high school, I played euphonium the whole time.
Wow, okay.
And then as far as the voice is concerned, I joined choir in 8th grade and continued through it all the way through high school. And actually, I wasn't even planning on doing choir when I got here to WT originally. It was just going to be band. And then I just fell in love. It was kind of a whole new awakening,
I see, yeah. And then for the instruments you talked about, which ones did you play jazz in? Or which instruments did you... I think I said it right. I hope so.
Oh, yeah. I completely forgot to mention this, but I actually played bass guitar more than I played guitar.
Okay, I see.
And so, personally, my favorite instrument to play jazz on is bass.
I see, okay, yeah.
But my bass chops are so dead. I haven't played bass in a while, at least not since whenever we went to Caleb Hesse's wedding this past summer. And so, mainly, I play guitar. I have dabbled with a little bit of jazz trombone, but guitar, I fell in love with jazz guitar. It's what got me playing again. So, yeah, I'd say guitar is probably my main.
I see. When did you start playing jazz?
Let's see. So, in high school, we had a jazz band. It was pretty mid.
Okay.
It was all right. I played bass for the most part, but they ended up putting me on guitar because someone else kind of played bass, and I was like, all right. And so that's kind of when I started getting my roots.
I see, okay.
I've also played bass in the jazz bands at the WT band camp. Mr. Hines was the director both times that I did it.
I see, yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with that. And then now, I used to be in the 3.14 big band. I was in it since my freshman year. I had to quit. Had to quit this year, unfortunately, just because time constraints and all that stuff. But chances are, I think I'm going to be trying to go back to it again next semester.
I see. Awesome, yeah. And then how did you find out about jazz?
So I think that probably came in. Okay, so 7th grade, I'm sitting in the band hall, and one of the directors comes up to me. His name is Mr. Johnston. He's in Pennsylvania now or something, but he came up to me and he said, hey, I really need a bass player for jazz band. Do you want to try? I heard you said you play a little bit of bass guitar. I was like, yeah, absolutely. And he actually kind of put me in, what did he do? So I think we were playing Zoot Suit Riot.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But so the thing is there's not a bass line for that song, and I was like, Mr. Johnston, little 7th grade me, I don't know how to make my own bass line. He was just go with the flow. And then I was like, well, all right. So that's kind of how I started getting into jazz.
I see. Awesome, yeah. And what made you so attracted to the genre of jazz?
I like how it sounds like a whole bunch of noise, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like, you know, especially if you look at like a jazz score or whatnot, like it's all very like in line with each other. And so I really like how kind of crazy it can be, but also like, I guess just versatile is what I'm trying to say. I really enjoy like, really big brashy jazz like that's my kind of jazz, like Torque. That piece, I vibe with that piece a lot.
Awesome. Awesome. Does the way you think change a lot when you're playing in a band and orchestra setting compared to when you're playing in a jazz band setting?
I think so. Because the thing is like, you know, especially in the choir world, you know, you cannot fiddle around with anything, especially, you know, all respect to Dr. Pullman. If he if he catches you missing wrong notes, like that's it. You know, with jazz, there's a little like margin for error, you know, and like jazz, in my opinion, is all about playing around and seeing what feels right and not necessarily what sounds right. Of course, that's important, but you know, I think that feel and groove, especially like as a bassist, is very important.
I see. Awesome. Yeah. And then, do you have some favorite jazz artists, and why are they your favorites?
Oh man, well, I am a big sucker for Horace Silver. I really like his. Well, I like it how it's crunchy. I'm a big dissonance person. And a lot of his stuff just has like these very, very, very tight harmonies, and I really like that just because like when was Horace Silver around? Probably like the 60s, 70s, I think. And so like that was a big like brain breaker, you know. Horace Silver, like John Coltrane. I really like all like the classic stuff, you know. But also lately, like if for a modern jazz composer, I really like gosh, what's his name? Jeff Jarvis. Jeff Jarvis charts are like top tier. Also Doug Beach, he's got some pretty good charts. Like there's one that I like called Running of the Bulls. It's like a really nice Latin jazz piece, really cool.
Awesome. Yeah. And then I know you already said that you really like big band charts, but what other type of subgenres of jazz do you like?
I love jazz funk. Jazz funk, like especially as guitar, like oh man, you can just go ham, and like that is so much fun, you know. So I'll be over there like ding, 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 ding. And that's a lot of fun. But I also really like jazz ballads.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like I remember when we were in the 3.14 big band, and we played, it was like for a Valentine's Day concert. We played, I know it's not really like a classical thing, but it was Eterna City for the Pokemon thing. That was really fun. I think that piece is beautiful. And it was also really challenging too, is what I liked about it. So
I see. Yeah, awesome. Who is an artist, dead or alive, that you wish you could perform with?
Ooh. Man. You ever heard of Stevie Ray Vaughan?
I have not.
Man, so Stevie Ray Vaughan, he is like this big blues guitarist, and by gosh, he is one of the greatest guitar players, in my opinion, of all time. If you get a chance, listen to Pride and Joy. I mean, I personally play that song all the time. It's one of my favorites. Texas Flood is also a really good one. I mean, the way he... Honestly, I don't think he probably knew anything about music theory, you know? He was just jamming out. But holy cow, like, it is just so crazy, especially like the finger dexterity. I mean, he is just moving all over the place all the time. So, Stevie Ray Vaughan, blues jazz guitarist.
Awesome, yeah. And the next question I have for you is, if you could take the playing ability or the writing ability of any artist ever, who and why would you pick them?
Ooh, man. Okay. Playing ability, and it's like any artist ever.
Yes, any artist ever.
Well, Stevie Ray Vaughan for sure. Okay, I just said. There's another guitarist that I really like. He's the guitarist for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, big funk band, John Frusciante. Some of the stuff that he writes is kind of crazy, and I'm pretty sure he writes a lot of the Red Hot Chili Pepper song. Just a really good funk musician. As far as like writing goes, oh, that's a tough one. I'm a big sucker for John Mackey. I like the way that he does some. I guess I'm just a big guy for tight harmonies, you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, especially, you know, when I was in the symphonic band, we played Wine Dark Sea, is like, man, this is good. And the crazy thing is like, I am a firm believer in, like, I think music theory is very, very important, but I also think it's important to kind of do what sounds good as well. And John Mackey is definitely one of those guys where it's like, you know, he's just riding what sounds good.
I see.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. When you are improvising, what exactly is going through your mind?
Ooh. Well, to be honest with you, I feel like I'm not the best at improvising. I have a really hard time, and a part of it I think is because I have a really hard time getting out of my shell when it comes to jazz.
Yeah.
When I'm improvising, I think more like 1-3-5 like type chords. You know, if I can figure out like what chord I'm playing, I just kind of see like what notes can come out of that.
Yeah.
I often, when I'm soloing or improvising, I try not to go too out of the box because then I just lose myself. So I'd probably describe myself as like an in the box type person, you know, very just kind of basic. But of course, you know, like with guitar, I've definitely gotten better about it. Like I remember when we were working on like those Mario Kart tunes a while back, I was just going for it, you know, and I think ultimately that's kind of what you got to do. As far as improvising goes, it's just, if it's bad, figure out a way to not make it bad. Practice improvising, you know. So, I think I'd say that I try to stay in the box for the most part.
I see. Yeah. And why do you think jazz and people's emotions have such a close connection to each other?
Ooh, I think that, well, for one, like what jazz is based off of, you know, I mean, like it's very African American culture heavy, you know, and I think that was a very uniting thing at that time, you know, because we have like all the civil rights movement and stuff going on, and so it's very culturally foundational. And I think now that we're kind of past that, and you know, I'm a firm believer in like music speaks volumes for everything, and I think almost everyone can agree. I mean, I don't find anyone who doesn't really like music, especially like jazz music. You know, I am under the assumption that like you got to be good at what you do for music, but you've also got to be a good hang. Yeah. Okay. And so with jazz music, you know, it's a lot of people just hanging out, chilling, playing their instruments. And so I think that's kind of how you get the connectedness, because you start forming all these friendships with all your bandmates, and it's just, it can be fun if you let it.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And then what is one of your favorite memories that you have relating to jazz?
Oh man, by far it was that trip that we took to Colorado to play for Caleb Hesse's wedding. I mean, just so much fun. Everyone was eating us up, and like especially, oh my gosh, Honk. When we were playing Honk, I don't know if you know anything about the bass line on that part, but it mimics a lot of what the Barry sax does. And during the solo part, I just remember going and like just slapping bass so hard, and it was just so much fun. I missed that trip quite a bit. I reflect on it a lot.
That's awesome. Yeah. How do you feel about the influence jazz has in modern music?
Ooh, well, I think especially like, I think jazz kind of paved a way out of traditional like classical music, you know, because I mean, I feel like I know that I find myself getting into this because I do kind of like write music on the side, not anything big. But for me, like tend to find myself going 1 4 5 1 and just kind of sticking with the basics, you know. And I feel like jazz, especially like people who take away from jazz, like they have a better understanding of what music can sound like outside of the box.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And so I think that when you start thinking outside of the box, you are at like your best creative level. Like I remember there was one time I made a piece and it was just a little something, and I was like, well, let me add this in here, let me add this in here, you know. It's like trying to figure out what spots you can add a little bit of flair to, come back down, you know, kind of stuff like that.
Awesome. Yeah. And then how do you feel about the direction that jazz is currently going in?
Oh man, well, to be honest with you, I think that jazz, I feel like stuff like this needs to happen more, you know, because I think that I have found a lot of people, like, for example, my mom. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. I talk to Jazz about my mom, or I talk to Mom about jazz all the time. And she just does not like it. And I find a lot more and more people kind of saying, like, well, you know, jazz is like, it's okay. And I'm like, you know, we gotta just keep pushing it out there. Yeah. You know, I kind of feel like, especially now, it's almost like it's not getting enough attention, I don't think. And I think that in order to give it more attention, like this podcast helps. I really like what we do here at WT with the 3.14 big band, and I hope one day like maybe we can spread it out more, but you know, I think that it is kind of falling off right now. But I do think that there will be a resurgence of it at one point. At least in our lifetime, you know. Yeah.
Awesome. Why do you think it's important to listen to live jazz when you have the chance to?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, just because of the experience. I mean, I remember when I went to the International Trombone Festival, and there was one night where, so usually they'll do it like kind of I think it's 3 nights long, and so they'll have like a classical night, solo night, then they'll have like a jazz night, and then they'll have like the competition night, you know. And so I went to the jazz night, and wow, like there was like this trombone quartet, and they played like all these Latin funk tunes, and man, I've never heard something so brassy in my life. Fun experience, really, really good music. Yeah. And I think more importantly, rather than listening to the music, like something that I like to do is get an idea of like what a piece is about. Yeah. You know? I am a big person on finding out like what the meaning of the music is. But sometimes, I mean, it's just a good hang, you know? And so I think that if you're looking to cut loose for a little bit, you know, just kind of relax, I think that jazz is really good for that. So much versatility.
I see. And then do you have any pre-performance rituals that you do every time before you perform?
Pre-performance rituals. I don't think so. I'm more just kind of like right before a performance, I'll just kind of be like, all right, here we go. Okay. You know? Yeah. I don't, and I guess that's just a me thing. I feel like when it comes to performances, I've got like nerves of steel. Okay, yeah. I don't really ever get nervous for performances, unless I'm not prepared, of course. That's a different story. But yeah, I don't really have any rituals. Now, I will say that, so Dr. Krause, for those of you who know Dr. Krause, he is a phenomenal person and a great musician, and I think that he's done a lot for the School of Music here at WT. Well, he retired last semester, or I guess this past spring semester, and I performed for him because we did like a last hurrah. Yeah. And excuse me, goodness. In my suit jacket, I keep the what is it called? The program. Thank you. Oh, okay. I keep the program in my suit jacket, and I look at it. I'm like, "There's Dr. Krause," and I put it back in. So I guess you can call that a pre-ritual. You know, Dr. Krause means a lot to me, and I think he means a lot to the School of Music. Yeah. So very big inspiration.
Awesome. Yeah. What has been the best crowd you have ever performed for?
Oh my gosh. As far as like jazz is concerned, or just in general?
Just in general.
So, little fact about me is I marched to DCI when I was going into my senior year of high school. And we performed in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And if for those of you who have never heard of J. Bernie Crumb, okay, J. Bernie Crumb is like one of the biggest stadiums as far as like marching goes for DCI, and so you'll hear a lot of jokes in the DCI world, really. You put a J. Bernie Crumb on top of a J. Bernie Crumb, and that's how big J. Bernie Crumb is. And man, I think there are at least 4,000 people there. I mean, there were a lot of people there. And it was exhilarating just being out there on the field, marching, playing my stuff, you know, and the crowd, man, they were loving it. So that was definitely a highlight for sure in my career.
That's awesome. Yeah. And then have you ever had to perform while being sick or exhausted? If so, how did you get through it?
Absolutely. Honestly, I just kind of toughed it out. I feel like there's not really much you can do in that situation. I mean, you can't just say, hey, I'm not going to a concert. Yeah. You know, there's no way around that. I'm trying to think specifically. Honestly, so the WT Symphonic Band went and performed at TMEA a couple years ago, and I wasn't like sick, but I was not feeling well. I mean, like my head was pounding, my ears hurt, and my throat was really scratchy, and I was just like, well, we've got a job to do. You know, and at the end of the day, I think that's kind of what it boils down to is, you know, if you want to say you're sick, yeah, that's fine. You know, it's okay to take a couple sick days, but I mean, when it gets right down to it, at the end of the day, you got a job to do, and you just got to get it done, unfortunately.
There you go, yeah. How have you evolved musically over the years?
Oh, man. I feel like, I guess one thing is I've started paying attention to the words of music a lot more, especially in like vocal stuff. You know, we have to translate quite a bit because, you know, we do pieces in Italian, French, German, sometimes in other languages. And I feel like if you want to get to what the music actually means, pay attention to the words. I mean, even in English literature, it is so important because I feel like it adds a whole new depth to your performance if you're able to convey the emotion that's coming out. Like, for example, I did this piece called Chanson épique by Ravel, which means epic song. And it's all about Don Quixote praying for the love of his life, like just praying for her protection. And it is just so raw and emotional, because I think at the end of the Don Quixote story, like she dies or something like that, you know. And so, if you want to, and especially, you know, and I know that's kind of hard for like instrumentalists because, well, you don't have words to go off of. Find out what the composer is saying about the piece. I mean, Frozen Cathedral by John Mackey. Yeah. He wrote that piece because a father's son died. I want to say a skiing accident or something in Alaska, I'm pretty sure. And so that's why he wrote the piece, is it's supposed to be a frozen cathedral, you know? Just stuff like that. I think appeal to emotion is very important in music. The more emotion you can give, the better your performance is going to be.
I see. Awesome. Yeah. And then personally, what is the best type of musician to perform with?
Ooh. Elliot's over here saying me. I think, well, like I said, someone's got to be a good hang. Okay, I don't want to work with someone who's very uptight all the time, because for me, that's not how I am. I think it's important, like I said, to get the job done. But, you know, I don't want to be all the time. I think that obviously someone who's prepared. I don't want to work with anyone who's kind of like fumbling around and doesn't know what they're doing. But I think more importantly, someone who is aware of what they're doing, you know, or I know for me, something that I personally have tried to do as like a better performer is really be on the dot when it comes to critique. Like how fast can I get this changed up in order to make it better, you know? And I think that if we were all able to adopt that mentality, and of course I'm still working on it myself, but I think if we were all able to at least attempt to adopt that mentality, music would go a lot smoother, you know?
I see. Yeah, awesome. And then what challenges do jazz musicians face today that older generations didn't have to deal with?
Well, jazz was new in the older generation, you know, and I think that a lot of people get tired of hearing the same stuff over and over and over again. So when you're just playing classics all the time, you know, it just is kind of like, well, you know, I've heard this 1,000 times before, and potentially even better. And so I think keeping it fresh is probably something that newer generations struggle with. Because I mean, like, and a question that I've been having for myself lately is like, I feel like we're kind of reaching the end of an era as far as like classical music, jazz music, orchestra, band is concerned. And I'm kind of wondering like what the next steps are, you know, because I feel like we're reaching this head where it's like, okay, there's about to be a huge shift in music, at least somewhere, you know, and maybe jazz could be a part of that. You know, I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, but I guess just we got to try to find a way to keep it fresh 24/7.
There we go. And then besides music, what else inspires you?
Oh man. I think, well, do you mind if I get a little personal for a second?
Of course.
So something that inspires me is, well, to be honest, I've always been like supported by my family, but they've never really understood like what I do. And the only one who really understood what I did was my dad. But my dad, he passed away in my freshman year of high school. And so one thing is that I really like, I remember talking to my dad about music all the time. Like, apparently he played like every instrument in high school. And of course, you know, like they probably needed him too, but he said he played saxophone, trumpet, clarinet. I think he played trombone at one point. You know, I was like, man, like one thing that I try to pride myself in is being a jack of all trades. Like, for example, like I did drumline these past 2 years. One of the best experiences I've ever had in my life because, you know, just figuring out how to do percussion. And that's always kind of a mentality that I've taken to everything. And a lot of that comes from my dad. Another thing too is, so like when I was at DCI, I was probably at the worst moments of my life. Like, and I just kind of decided like, yeah, I want to do things for other people, but more importantly, I need to start learning to do things for myself. Not in a selfish way and not in any way at all, but you know, I got to figure out who I am, what type of musician I want to be. And I still struggle with that daily. I mean, I'm sure everyone does, you know, but, as far as inspiration goes, man, I just love making music. I love spreading joy through music. I love spreading all emotion through music. And I mean, it's just something that's helped me out of the pit of despair that I've been in for a lot of my life. And very thankful to be here. And it's just one way I want to give back by teaching.
Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. And then what is some of the best advice you've gotten relating to music?
Oh, that's a tough one because I feel like I've gotten some good advice. I think one of the big things is sometimes you just aren't going to be prepared. And you got to figure out a way to make yourself prepared. in a sense of like, if let's say you didn't have the time to work on it, right? I'll give you a really good example, like right now. This just happened to me a couple days ago. So, of course, finals week is happening and like all of this stuff, and I've just been exhausted with music. So I have a church job where I sing with the choir. I didn't go on Sunday. I get a text message from the pastor. He's like, "Hey, bud, I understand that you're exhausted, but you got to start showing up more." I was like, all right, that's a pretty big eye opener for me, you know, like I hate being put in those situations, and for me to do that to someone else, it's like, well, shucks, you know. So and I just, a lot of the reason why I didn't show up is because I haven't had time to work on the music. I mean, I just have not had any time, and I've got a solo in one of the pieces. So Wednesday we have, because we're doing our church cantata on Sunday, this upcoming Sunday, and I didn't look at the solo at all. I just went to rehearsal and I was like, well, we're going to figure it out there, as horrible as this to say. And I briefly just took, maybe 2 minutes to look over the solo, and boom, right on the dot. And I think that is an incredibly valuable skill as a musician to have, is sight reading. Sight reading is incredibly important. So I think that overall, if you're not prepared, you got to figure out a way to be prepared, whatever circumstance you come through.
Awesome. Well, the last question I had for you, you kind of already answered it, but what advice do you have for upcoming jazz musicians?
Well, let's see. So keep it fresh, right? I think that's very important. You don't want to get stuck in the minutia of a lot of things. Be on time, be prepared. I feel like that is just kind of a go for it. But also, know when enough is enough, in the sense of like overbooking yourself. Yeah. I know that I personally have a hard time with it. This guy over here, Mr. Lewis, he has a hard time with it. It is really not a good thing to overbook yourself. And I found myself getting stressed out more and more and more as the semesters have gone on. So I think find the things that you absolutely love to do. And I'm not saying cut everything out of your life 100%. But for me, I love doing 3.14 big band. But I also really love opera. And so that's kind of where my decision came from. But I'll actually have time to do the big band next year or next semester. So, you got to figure out what your priorities are. One thing for me is I sat down and made a list of priorities. Just wrote them down. And I look at them every day and just be like, okay, what do I need to get done? So my biggest advice is don't overbook yourself and figure out what your priorities are. For me, my biggest priority right now in college is getting as much experience as I possibly can. And I think I've done a pretty good job at that. I've been in a lot of ensembles, and I actually got an opportunity to help Amarillo High as a marching tech this year, just for fun. And man, one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. So, yeah.
Awesome, yeah. And then this next segment, I like to give all my guests to just shout out anything that's going on in their life, shout out anyone that they think deserves shout outs. So take it away the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple things are coming up. So like I just said, I'm part of the opera program here at WT. We've got the opera gala coming up, I believe January 31st. It is a ticketed event, but it's going to be really good. We're honoring Patrick Swindoll. And he is he's done a lot for the jazz community here. And so if you are very interested in jazz and like this podcast inspires you, go to that event. It's going to be really good. Another thing that's coming up is Don Giovanni, one of the best Mozart operas of all time. We're performing that in late February. And then I think that's all for now. I've also been working on some songs that I plan on trying to release soon on my Spotify at Peachy Boy Music if you want to listen to it. And I just want to say thank you for letting me come on today. I've really had a good time.
Of course, it was awesome, yeah. And then the last thing, I asked all my guests to recommend one song to be added on the playlist forever. What song would you like to recommend today?
The song that I'm going to recommend today is Nutville by Horace Silver. It is such a good piece, man. I love that piece with all my heart. And a lot of people are like, oh, like that piece is like, and I'm just like, man, I don't know. It's just a vibe.
Awesome, yeah. And then, of course, afterwards, all that's left is for me and Korbin to take, of course, our Polaroid to see what. Oh my gosh, cannot speak today. To, of course, see what pose Korbin picked today. Check out the Instagram and see what he did. And, of course, see behind the scenes pictures of everything today, what we did today on the show. But thank you once again, Korbin, for coming on to the show. It was an honor. What a great interview. And I hope everyone has a good day. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Of course, this is Jazz Talk, only on Jazzy Fridays, only on KWTS 91.1 FM. Make sure to stay tuned. We'll catch you all in a little bit.
Thank you.
Of course.